Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome to the stage NASCIO President Daryl Ackley.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I wanted to be very careful as I walked up to the stage not to appear like I was dancing, because apparently at the game last night, while trying to get on the dance cam, it got memorialized. Just saying, I'm still waiting to talk to my public relations folks, but I think it's going to be okay. Good morning. How is everyone? That was weak. Let's try that again. Good morning. How is everyone? All right. That's much better. That's much better. It's good to see you all this morning. I hope that you're having a wonderful experience here at our Midyear conference. I think we've had some great sessions, some wonderful cross-flow of information. I've gotten some good feedback about our speed dating exercise. Hopefully some good conversation this morning continued on with the round tables. So thank you very much to our facilitators for the work that you did. And I hope everyone had an enjoyable evening, maybe got to see some parts of Balmer that you don't normally get to see while you're here. What about those Orioles, huh? Okay, no, people just laughing. I have my badge on. You're not supposed to do that when you're on stage. That was disappointing, I thought, to be here for the loss. But they gave it their best until about the sixth inning. So our first order of business this morning is to announce our Twitter contest winners. So let's do that. Oh, they're already up. I was going to do a drum roll. Okay. Our contest winners for the quotes of the day are up on the board. If you are a winner, you can collect your prize at registration. And I like I'm not going to do the Yoda voice again in case there's people recording this. But do or do not fix procurement. There is no try. That's pretty good, right? So we had May the 4th be with you yesterday. We will have a quote of the day and photo of the day contest again today. Winners will be announced via Twitter. And that's that. Happy Cinco de Mayo, Feliz Cinco de Mayo, and bienvenidos. We had May the 4th and then May the 5th. We made some jokes about that last night too, but we're not going to go into those. One other announcement I'd like to make, in keeping with our keynote speaker from yesterday, he was talking about the ease at which you can now procure things digitally, go online and buy things very rapidly, have them shipped and delivered. And I think that's great. So I would also like to give a plug for online ordering for those of you that may have forgotten that Sunday, May 8th, is Mother's Day. So I think we'll forgive, those of you that we see making some purchases, some one-click type purchases online here in the next day or two. Perhaps just, don't forget that. I'm going to be ordering some things shortly myself. Our Give Back partner, the Digital Harbor Foundation, is here again today. If you haven't made a donation and would like to, you have until 2 o'clock today. And if you haven't taken some time to go and visit with the kids that have a setup out there, please do. That's a wonderful group. They're doing some great things. So if you haven't done that yet, make sure you do that. And you have to get the donation in by 2 o'clock today to be eligible for the NASCIO gift pack drawing. So that will be announced at our 3 o'clock session and via Twitter. I'm pleased to announce that NASCIO will be launching the State CIOs Make a Difference campaign on May 9th. This is the second year of the campaign, and it highlights CIOs in 6 states. And we got a video. Yeah. So this is it's the second year of the campaign, and it's a wonderful way to get some recognition and some highlights to some of the great work that our state CIOs are doing in their home states. Remember today to check your email after the discovery sessions. This afternoon from an email linking to the conference evaluations. Again, very much encourage you to fill those out. The feedback from those evaluations is how we're able to continue to put together a great program. And speaking of that, this morning's session is actually a direct result of some of the feedback that we've gotten. So we're going to try something a little new this morning. Does that sound good? Is everybody just tired? Am I boring? Drink coffee. Lots of it. Lots of coffee. This next session, we're going to have 5 speakers give a focused talk on one of the NASCIO top 10 CIO priorities. But they're only going to have 7.5 minutes to do it. No pressure, guys. So we're going to have these Ignite-style talks to cover these priorities. And then hopefully those will spark some discussions that will carry over into our next session, into the graffiti rounds. So after we have the top 10 talks, we'll move into those rounds and try to carry on the discussion. It's going to be quick moving. These guys have put a lot of prep into this, so there are guinea pigs for trying this out. So very much give them a nice reception. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my friend Lou from our host state of Maryland to give his talk. Lou.
Disaster recovery and the civil unrest that unfolded in Baltimore last year. Disaster recovery is different in government than other areas. We have a public safety mission. We're responsible for maintaining law and order, and there are critical services that we have to continue to provide throughout disasters, even more so in emergency situations. So disaster recovery is more than just data backups and redundant servers. It's emergency management as well. Last year, David Garcia was appointed to Governor Hogan's cabinet as the state CIO. 2 weeks before Freddie Gray had a controversial run-in with police in front of many witnesses and cell phone cameras. 1 week later, unfortunately, he passed away, and that began protests in the streets of Baltimore. Governor Hogan immediately mobilized state police resources to support the city police. And soon thereafter, the situation escalated into riots. There were flyers being passed around the schools saying the purge begins at 3 p.m. at this place or that place. And because of the disaster recovery planning, emergency management planning, we were able to have resources to contain that violence, but it quickly got out of hand. At the time, Secretary David Garcia was at NASCIO Midyear Conference in Alexandria, Virginia. And as frequently happens during the conference, CIOs get called back. This is a pretty good reason to get called back. When the governor moved his offices to Baltimore and mobilized his cabinet, the interesting thing is the theme of the conference last year was disruptive change is the new norm, which we'll see on the slide in a second here. I'm talking a little fast. Still not sure exactly how Stu Davis orchestrated riots in Baltimore to hammer home the theme of the conference, but I was pretty impressed with that. Disaster recovery is risk management. Disaster recovery is knowing what services need to operate, who's going to be responsible for immediately responding versus supporting that response during an extended activation. With this event, Governor Hogan mobilized the National Guard, called in resources from Delaware, Pennsylvania, DC. Forgive me if I left out any states that provided help. We had calls coming in from Missouri who had a similar incident, from other states offering support and advice. And we had literally dozens of entities all trying to address the same issue. So that takes a lot of coordination, a lot of preparation, a lot of being prepared for the unknown and unknowable. It's about being able to respond to the situation at hand as it unfolds. So you have to know your business areas. Every one of those teams has to understand what it is they need to do. They have to understand how to do their job effectively, how to do it in a way that doesn't conflict with other entities, and that's very highly coordinated and highly effective. Our Maryland First radio system, or first responder public safety radio system, was the star of the response. We had, before one foot stepped into the state from outside, we had banks of radios ready to go. We had charging stations for the responders to swap out radios. We had standard operating procedures. We had programming stations. We had hundreds of radios coming in from the outside that within minutes were programmed and ready to go on the talk groups with the standard operating procedures to use those talk groups effectively, not talk over each other, communicate accurately, clearly, very effectively. And with all that communication, we start to identify and prioritize our risks. We use GIS assets to visualize the hotspots, to mobilize resources where they needed to be, contain the violence and minimize the spread of violence and damage. We had looting, we had rocks thrown at police, we had injuries, we had arrests, and coordinating that with dozens of agencies takes a lot of preparation, a lot of prioritization, and communication. So we had GPS transponders on certain assets, providing real-time data into the central system, data updated in real time on the tablets in the field, so the first responders had that information at hand, updated and real time. We had industry partners providing support as well. We identified some cyber attacks that were happening on city sites. The National Guard was one great partner in responding. They reverse engineered the software that Anonymous was distributing to carry out these attacks and to counteract those threats. One game, the stadium shut down and locked all the fans inside while the streets calmed before, hours of leaving. In the next game, you saw the empty stadium. That's a priority risk, right? We had tens of thousands of people in the stadium, so we identify those priorities, we mitigate. We have to have a mitigation plan. A lot of the mitigation plan is reaction. It's having a robust toolbox and understanding what needs to be activated and where and when, and being able to communicate that and coordinate that clearly. We were able to stand up Maryland Unite's website to coordinate communication with the community, with the businesses that were being destroyed and the citizens that were displaced. Very quickly, within a couple hours, we had that site, and there was a press conference where the governor was directing people to that site. And then with your mitigation plan, you have to test and train. Something that we all say, rarely do, or I guess do robustly enough. It's not only the initial responders, it's not only those first steps that you have to do, you have to be prepared for extended activation. We run through drills with virtual assets on the map, with virtual situations unfolding, and are able to train not only the initial responders, but the supporting resources as well. And bottom line, when all else fails, in Baltimore, we had a situation where LaToya Graham found her son rioting, smacked him upside the head, ripped his mask off, and shamed him in front of the media. So when all else fails, send in the moms. Thank you very much.
Josh Carson, Director of Project Management Office. I'm talking today about agile incremental delivery. First things first, Denny Lou and I joked last night that if I got his name included in my speech somehow, he would owe me a beer. So Denny, I'll see you at the bar tonight. So So what does it mean to be agile? We've done agile in the state of Maine for about the last 3 years now. And this is kind of how I felt we started out. We're trying to be agile, we're trying to have some agility, but we were not quite there yet. So what does it really mean to be agile? Well, the definition most people know of agile is a time box, iterative approach to software development that's built incrementally and from the beginning of the project versus the waterfall where it's done typically delivered at the end. So you got to look at also agile from not just the project level, which a lot of people do. You got to look at it from the technical level, the project level, and also the organizational level. It's about a cultural shift within your organization if you truly want to implement agile. So you got to look at your processes and your procedures as well to make sure that they support agile and incremental development. If not, then you run into some blockers. So typically with your people, and I've heard it quite a few times, agile's a fad. It's going to come and go. They've seen it come and go a long time. They're used to traditional methods, so it's a little difficult for them. But I found a lot of the issues are with the processes. They don't support agile, so you got to look at your organization. It's like trying to get that square through a round hole. If I hit that thing hard enough, it's probably going to come through the other end, but it's not going to look as good. So you want to make sure your organization supports it. Typical agile methodology, we use Scrum a lot. That's usually the big one that a lot of people use, and Kanban is another one. It's about operational throughput, but there's many to choose. You got to select the right one for your project and your customer as well. So a lot of people are used to the waterfall process. This is a good slide that represented the picture. It's the longer you go, the project gets more complex, bigger and bigger, and becomes harder to deliver. The risks usually go up because it's sequential. So typically, the team will go in, they'll do the requirements gathering, go into a hole of doing the development work, they do the testing, and then right at the end, they come up to you and say, here's what you got. This is what you wanted, and a lot of times, as we're finding out, it's not what you asked for. So what we're trying to do is the agile approach, which is you take these large, complex projects and you break them down into smaller ones, incremental development. So you can see on the picture, we're breaking this one down here into what I call, we release it. So you're releasing functionality of your project. And what that does is continuous improvement. You're sending back to your customer, who has a seat at the table, by the way. This is a collaborative effort. So they're guiding the project along the way by prioritizing the backlog of requirements. So they're seeing these, they're demoing them throughout the project and providing that feedback. So it's really about a continuous cycle and continuous improvement loop for the agile process. But always break them down into smaller projects if you can. You're likely to get more successful. And this is from the standards group. They do a really good report, chaos report, about agile. As you can see, 29% failure rate with waterfall, 9% with agile. And that number keeps improving every year. If you look historically, you'll see improvements as people become more efficient with agile. But I just got some numbers. Small projects likely to be more successful by a factor of 10 and up to 30. So across all projects, agile projects are 350% more likely to be successful. Huge projects, up to 600% more likely to be successful. And according to the standards group, the overall results clearly show that waterfall projects do not scale well, while agile projects scale much better. That's usually a reverse thinking. People think, well, if it's going to be a large, complex project, I probably need to do a traditional waterfall method. But that's not been the case. The studies have shown that agile scales much better than waterfall, and you're likely to have much more success. So typical Scrum project, you got your iterations. So this is your incremental development. These can be sprints or they can be releases. So you add up all these pebbles and stuff. This is your functionality. You add those together, and then what you're going to get is the rock over here. So the rock is your release. So he's sending out your release. This is your functionality that you're giving to the customer after just could be a month of work. So they're already getting that return on their investment already, and while the team is already starting work on the next release. And when they go on the next release, while the rock's out there providing feedback, the customers are using it, they're providing feedback to the project team. So if something needs to change, really the customer, they can change the priority of the backlog of work. So then on the next sprint, the project team can make those adjustments. And they're demoing all the work that they're doing during the sprint and doing the review at the end. So there's their constant feedback cycle. So it allows greater flexibility for the customer to change as it goes. And you can see here with the waterfall, look at the risk at the end. It gets higher and higher as you go through a waterfall project. And then maybe you'll get that what you wanted at the end, but the studies already show that you're more likely not to get what you wanted. As with the Agile project, it adds the functionality and the value increases, and the risk usually goes down as you go along as the teams become more proficient, and the feedback cycle of continuous improvement helps. So here's our project. This is our customer. We're going to do the most exciting birthday party ever. So what they want to do is they want to build a cake. That's the product. So we have to build this cake for them. So we're going to do it in an agile way instead of the traditional waterfall. And then so we have our product team. We have the guy in the black. He's the product owner. So he's the customer. They're part of the team to provide the feedback and direct the project along the way. And then we have the rest of our project teams there. So we're going to build this cake. Traditionally, we're going to put out this big cake, but we're going to break them down into releases. So each one of these represent a release of functionality that we're going to send out to our customers. So that's the approach we're going to take and build that way. So as we send these out to the customers, they can test it, they can use it. And we all seen this before. We get customers that say, hey, where's my value? What am I getting back for this? I've been waiting forever. With Agile, we're sending something out. Usually releases are just 2 or 3 sprints, no more than 6 months. So at the latest, each 6 months, usually 3 months, we're sending them something out to use. So that's what we're going to do here. The customer, we're going to say, okay, this is our first release. So you can come out and start testing that functionality. You start putting it in. It supports when you're going out to the organization for the training. They're training on a smaller piece as well instead of some large product at the end. So while they're out there using it, again, they're testing everything out, and they can make suggestions for future improvement. So you're going to constantly improve upon that functionality, and you're going to keep releasing and build upon that. Versus the traditional waterfall method, where you're going to be a guy sitting there waiting, saying, this project is over budget, scope creep is happening, I haven't seen anything from my investment yet. So that's a typical high-level overview. It's very hard to provide a extensive overview of Agile in 7.5 minutes, but we've learned a lot in our 3 years, so if anybody wants to connect with me, I can show you some of those stories that we've had with our Agile implementation. So thank you.
Okay, everybody wave. Yeah, I like that. Everybody wave. You're waving? I don't see any arms. There you go. Okay. Tweet that. All right, so in the state of Washington, we struggle with attracting and retaining talent just like many other states. On one hand, we actually have, we're kind of lucky because at least our campus isn't in the middle of nowhere trying to pull talent in. We have a slightly different problem. Our problem is that we're right adjacent to one of the largest tech hubs in the world with big name brands, nearly 1,000 tech startups, and we compete directly with those companies for talent. Now, over the years, the traditional government value proposition, employee value proposition or pitch is that, hey, you get a job in government, you've got a job for life. In government, we have better benefits. At government, that's where you go to make a difference. Now, the problem is this isn't true anymore. Employees are not really looking for a job for life. In fact, more than 90% of millennials, when surveyed, said they're only expecting to stay at their current employer for 2 to 3 years. Now, remember, millennials are in the mid-30s now. Some have grandkids. Benefits, we're behind on benefits. We have some of our competitors are offering 5 months paid maternity leave. Some of our competitors have sleeping pods. What do we have? Oh, I guess we got those too. They're called cubes. Never mind. But something we do have is our sense of purpose, our sense of mission. We totally own that. Would you rather ship boxes for a living or save lives? So this is something we have, and to our advantage, it's actually a thing that is more appreciated now than ever before. So basically, the value proposition we've been using over the years really, as a whole, doesn't work anymore. This dog just doesn't hunt. So what are we going to do? So what we need to do is we need to create a new value proposition for, as an employer, to attract talent. We need to sort of bag the one we've been using, stop trying to spin it, create something new, create something that's actually relevant for our current reality. So what is it that employees are actually looking for? Well, there's plenty of surveys, plenty of data out there, including our own. And what you'll see from that data is that employees are basically looking for a place where they can have a sense of purpose, a sense of mission, where they have some autonomy, where they're empowered, where they have flexibility in how they do work, and where they can grow personally and professionally. So that's something we can actually work with. We can build a value proposition, a new value proposition with that. We can start with a thing that makes us unique as a government. We totally own a strong sense of purpose. We should double down on that. We just need to get better at marketing it. The second is probably the one that's really the hardest. It requires the boldest thinking, and that is changing the work environment, creating a work environment that's empowering, engaging, enticing, and a lot of fun, and makes the hard work of government really enjoyable. The third is to prioritize investing in the personal and professional development of employees. Now, some fear that if you develop in employees, they'll leave. What if you don't invest in employees and they stay? So this is essentially the value proposition that we've been experimenting with in the state of Washington. This is a strategy for how we think we can attract talent. And we have a lot of experiments underneath these things that we're trying and testing and trying to move the needle. So I'm going to touch on just a few of them, just in that second box, because that's the one that requires the boldest thinking. And I'm only going to touch on 3 of the experiments because I only have 4 minutes left. So the first experiment. For the past 40 years, organizations have been dumping their hierarchy and moving to a self-management system. Why have they been doing this? They've been doing this because they want a more empowered workforce, and as an organization, they want to be able to adapt to change more quickly so they can outcompete their competitors. So in the state of Washington, we've been experimenting with self-management for the past year, and what we've seen from that small experiment was astounding. We saw a 50% increase in employee empowerment, as measured by the employees, and a 10-fold increase in our ability to execute and make decisions. So based on that success, we've just now launched last month a little bit larger experiment, a true scientific experiment by partnering with the union and Harvard researchers to rigorously test the hypothesis that self-management actually improves employee outcomes and organizational outcomes. A second experiment is in hiring for values over skills. So in one of our divisions, the Gov division, we assess candidates on their core values in alignment to the organizational values. And that is 75% of their score. Skill is only 25%. A third is space. Space matters. How many of you would rather work in the space that's on the left versus the space that's on the right? More to the point, how many of your employees would work in the space on the left versus on the right? So one of our experiments in the space is we took an area, removed all the cubes and all the offices, and we created a space that adds a lot of variety. So what are some of the impacts of that? We saw a space efficiency increase by 25%. Demand on conference rooms went down 90%, and we saw a 30% decrease in email. This space, the employees completely own and configure themselves. They've modified it multiple times, and even supporting a 30-person training room. So is this actually working? Part of our data collection includes interviewing or doing exit interviews of candidates that turn down job offers. And we're seeing some consistent themes out of that data. One is that a lot of candidates come into government really as their backup to the backup plan. They walk in with that, they've left with this job being number one choice. But they didn't take it, so why didn't they? They took the job that was paying 30 to 40% more. So we'd ask the candidates, well, how much of a pay cut would you be willing to take to work in this kind of environment? Their response has been consistently about $15,000 to $20,000. In fact, one candidate probed a little bit further, and we said, well, the best we could do is reclassify, but even then, we're still $28,000 less than the job you just took. They said, where do I sign? So this particular value proposition that we're playing with it seems to be having some impact. Right now, the value of this is roughly $15,000 to $20,000 per employee per year, or about $100 million for Washington State IT. So what is the next steps? Next steps is to allow these experiments to continue to collect that data, see where it's going. We're also completely redesigning our IT classification system in the state so that we can better benchmark against the industry. And it'll be interesting to see how this actually plays out. I don't know how successful it'll be, but imagine, wouldn't it be amazing if state government was known for the place to go to actually have meaning, have a sense of purpose, a place to go, or this state government is a place where you are empowered, energized, inspired, and a place to have fun, and a place that is known for investing in employees' personal and professional development. I think that's a winning strategy. So if you want to follow us, you can follow us at eGovWaTech Twitter. Thank you.
All right, I get a chance to talk about strategic visioning and IT roadmap. And in Utah, we're a state of broad horizons, beautiful state parks. Some of you were out there last year and had a chance to enjoy some of our scenery. But we're just one of 50 states, and it's an incredible opportunity that each of you have, you CIOs, to vision the future for your state. It's really a unique and rare opportunity that you have as a leader of one of those 50 states, the leading IT country in the world, really. And so you have a chance to create a vision that encapsulates what your political and administrative leaders want to accomplish in each of your individual states. Governor Herbert has been the governor of Utah for the last few years, and he has a vision to make Utah the #1 business state in the country. Four primary objectives: energy, jobs, education, and self-determination. And he captures those every time he goes and speaks to the legislature, and you want to take advantage of those opportunities when your governor and leaders are speaking to the public, to be able to identify what is their vision for the state, and you're going to create a bridge for IT, between IT and the business of the state, to enable some incredible things for your state. And in order to do that, you need to understand the customers and the business functions that you're trying to enable and you're trying to bridge. These guys are in our Department of Transportation, a key agency for the state, one of 26 different cabinet-level agencies, and we start there at the very intersection of where services are being provided in the public. What can we do with IT to enable what they're trying to accomplish? Obviously, we have a lot of snow. What can we do to enable better snow plows? And there are obviously a lot of things we can do technology-wise to connect and enable. We'll have self-driving snow plows here in a few years, self-driving vehicles that will change the very nature of driving. This is our control center for transportation of all the state. That's a critical component of what they're trying to do with roads and transportation, and it's all provided and serviced by IT. So you need to be able to connect that business with the vision that you have for IT. The Internet of Things, we're able to connect every street light in the state of Utah and reduce the number of stops, the time that people are stopped at stoplights by 50%. Connected vehicles, another area for visioning, and it really has been a way that we can smooth the flow of traffic. There'll always be obstacles and roadblocks and things that get in the way of you being able to provide services. Again, our DOT is faced with things like this avalanche that occurred, and what can you do to connect and enable them to overcome those obstacles and get their message out to the public. Zero fatalities is a goal for our transportation workers. And again, IT is an enabler. Help vision and create something beautiful for your state that is unique. And with IT, that's something you can really do in vision. We have a process in Utah that we go through on a regular and periodic basis to enable the architecture to connect with the vision that we have for government services. And obviously you have lots of services that you're going to do this with, and so you've got to start with everyone at the core level and then connect them to your overall vision for the state. In our Department of Technology, we're consolidated at the state level, and we have 4 key things that we're focused around: innovation, customer service. Every year we put together a statewide plan, an IT plan, that it captures hundreds of projects. And we review that and provide it to our central infrastructure people, engineering, and then we create a strategic plan based on that operational plan that encapsulates all of those needs and create enabling infrastructure, networking, engineering, and then take that to the next level to an annual report that we provide to the legislature on an annual basis. And then each year it's important that you review the accomplishments that you've made based on the plan that you've developed. And one of the key things that we look at is how much it's impacted the public. So my favorite area has always been digital government, e-government, and we measure that religiously to see how the public is responding to all of these hundreds of services that you're providing, and then provide an interesting and beautiful way back on the web that they can see what you've accomplished and the services that you're creating. And really, there are a number of no-brainers when it comes to enterprise visioning and IT roadmap that states just need to do. And I think I don't have time to go into all of what those are, but connect with NASCIO. Social media is a great way for you to enable your vision and to see what others are doing and to see what the future holds. I use Twitter religiously and have about 6 or 7 Twitter accounts, and it enables me to better understand how to put these different strategic elements together and build something that's unique for the state of Utah. And you're going to do the same thing with each of your individual states. TweetDeck enables me to capture hundreds and hundreds of elements every day from all of the different agencies to be able to capture what is it they're doing, what is it that they're interested, what are they trying to accomplish, and merge that with what we call the nexus of forces. Mobile, social, big data, and cloud should all be part currently of your enterprise vision. What's next? Artificial intelligence, digital transformation, Internet of Things, and hyper everything. How are you going to connect those to enable your agencies to accomplish their visions and dreams and to enable better services for your public? Thanks.
I'm good. So I get to talk about consolidation and optimization, which I'm sure that all of you all have a feeling about that anyways, but rather than really talk about it too much, I wanted to tell you a little bit about the journey that Ohio has been on, a journey that began, hopefully you got my cue there, right? There we go. A journey that begins with a very siloed, fragmented IT landscape. I'm sure you all lived through that yourselves. A journey with 26 different cabinet agencies and over 100 boards and commissions, all operating independently. 26 different agency CIOs that do not report to the state chief information officer, and about 80% of our IT spend was on IT operations and infrastructure. And the other 20% was really on the applications that support the citizens and the businesses. 32 separate data centers, inconsistent IT operational management, unknown security practices, spotty disaster recovery, and a large number of our applications, many on that applications were more than 20 years old. That was 2011. In 2012, we laid out the strategic direction for the state. And in 2013, the journey continued as we brought in over 100 individuals from over 18 agencies to develop a transformation plan, all with a common vision, an enterprise vision to increase efficiencies, reduce duplication of effort, and save taxpayers' dollars, all focused on the public good. This vision was consolidation and optimization. So really about the IT operations with a focus on increasing our security posture and improving our DR capabilities and saving taxpayers' dollars at the same time. This multi-agency team developed a transformation plan for IT in Ohio, a plan that identified key resources in the agencies that could support the transformation of Ohio's IT environment. A plan we continue to implement today, and a plan, you plan the work and you work the plan. It's really that simple. And the key to this was flipping the IT spending from IT operations to what really matters, which are really the applications that support the citizens and the businesses in Ohio. To understand where we're investing our dollars, underspending and overspending, and adjust accordingly, and redirect and repurpose the funds to optimize our application portfolio and the skill sets of our IT professionals, and to measure progress and communicate that progress on a regular basis. Some key ingredients to the success of this is executive sponsorship, a governor that understands the power of economy of scale, a budget director and a cabinet and a legislature that were supportive of an enterprise approach to IT, and really tapping into the strong IT professionals across the 26 agencies and focusing them on the enterprise. And of course, it's about IT leadership. To accomplish the level of change requires leadership at all levels. Leaders, not spokesmen. Leaders, not spokesmen. Leaders do that. You lead through change. And that's why we were asked to take these positions in the first place. However, for us to be successful, we have to recognize the agency CIO has to take that leadership leap as well. They can't be looking for reasons why we can't work together. They have to look for reasons why we should work together. As state CIOs, we need to recognize the courage it takes at the agency level to lead through that type of change, and we need to support their leadership through the inherent challenges they will face. So you look for an agency leader that provides the unvarnished truth, and you address the 800-pound gorillas, and there will be several, head on. And if you don't have the answers, it's really not that bad. It's okay, because you can work through those answers and you can find them together. And you'll find those leaders, you have to engage them, you have to instill that enterprise perspective, and it can be a very powerful message. In Ohio, we knew we had a rich pool of IT leadership and IT professionals to draw from and to spearhead that change at all levels. We assembled a team of agency CIOs around the specific lines of business of the state. We fixed our data center, which was really more of a data center condominium, to a Tier 3 capable data center. We built our servers, storage, network, and security teams using gunslingers from the agencies. We implemented a communication plan to explain the why, how, and what, and when of IT optimization, and we augmented these teams selectively with outside expertise and tools to really fortify our skills and capabilities and address legacy applications and consolidation of programs. To address customer service, we brought in agency leadership in key positions within our central services. Our chief operating officer is actually the former CIO from the Department of Transportation. Our network administrator actually came from the Department of Health. The server team lead is also from the Department of Health. This agency perspective permeated throughout our entire staff, the importance of what we do to support the business of the agencies and in turn the business of the state. We did this all without executive orders, without legislative mandates, without a defined optimization budget. We didn't contemplate layoffs or forced reduction in staff. We did it through retirement and attrition. It was always about the state, focusing on the mission of the agency and on the business of the state and its enablement. So you plan the work you work the plan. But you got to get started. You got to push from shore. You have to navigate the work as you go, as conditions arise. And the one caution I would always say is don't overthink it and don't overplan it. You have to be able to move through that motion as quickly as you can and never confuse motion with action. That always seems to have an impact of some kind or not. So you look at sort of those common services that you have that you can move to more of an enterprise solution approach. Things like email, Office 365, endpoint protection, voice over IP, and cloud platforms that actually can get you there quicker. Along this journey, the one thing that I would say is communicate, communicate, communicate. In my world, communication leads to coordination, and coordination leads to collaboration. And you have to stay on message, and you have to make sure everyone is on the same page. We developed an IT ecosystem of employees, contractors, suppliers, business partners, and peers to understand what we were doing, why we were doing it, and why it is important to our citizens. $100+ million in documented savings over 30 months, from centrally managing 675 environments to just under 5,500 environments. I think it sort of speaks for itself. But if you think of that, that's about $3 million of savings a month. You divide that by 26, and you're talking of just a little bit over 100,000 per agency per month. That's really doable. It's not that hard if you work together and you work through that and you communicate on all levels. So keeping on script is essential. It's about the public good, plain and simple. It's that straightforward. Citizens do not care what tools you're using. They want simple, efficient, and easy ways to live and work and build and grow their businesses. Again, it's about public good. So you measure the progress, you celebrate your wins, communicate these wins to the agency at all levels. You almost have to do that because there is some level at the agency that's not getting the message. And if your CIO is a spokesman, your agency CIO is a spokesman, it's going to be really hard to get to that level. You need that leadership coming out of the agencies to help you get there. You measure those progress and celebrate those wins. That's one thing I'm very bad at. And of course, you have to communicate in English, another thing that I'm constantly working on. My governor reminds me on a regular basis that I need to speak English. So I have to continually focus on that. We use a lot of acronyms. We got to move away from that depending on your audience, as you know. Identify and recognize that talent too. When you're in the agencies and you know those folks, call them out, support them, and let them know they're not alone through that process. And get that talent to work on behalf of the citizens and our taxpayers, because that's really what it's about. But you have to take action, and actions speak louder than words, and plan the work and work the plan and get it done. And as Teddy Roosevelt said, far and away, the best prize in life is working hard at work worth doing, and we're certainly doing this in Ohio. Thank you.
Let's take a moment and just give a hearty round of applause for all of our speakers who participated in this session. I think it was, yeah. You guys all did a wonderful job, and that was not a small burden for them, I think, to have to prepare for the conference and be willing to work with us on a new format and the timing, the slides, the practice, and the preparation that went into that. But I have to say, personally, I thought great presentations, fantastic. So hopefully they've got you engaged and energized for our next segment. But before we do that, hands on the ARS. Quick draw. All right, Belen's got his. We're going to ask you to rate that session so that we can see how it was received. 1 being the lowest, 5 being you thought it was fantastic, and all levels in between there. So if you could be ready to go, go! 10, 9, 8. I always want the music to keep going, you know? Let's just let that go for a few minutes. Nope. Mr. Robinson says nope. Stop right now, Daryl. Okay. No, thank you for your feedback. We very much appreciate that. So I mentioned that we had the Ignite style talks, the idea to get everybody thinking. maybe spark something of interest, and then we're going to follow that up with a graffiti round in which we'll have a very interactive session for you to continue the discussion, the dialogue, and hopefully make some connections. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a short break while we get the supplies for the graffiti rounds set up and the room reestablished for that. You'll want to take your items from the table because the team's going to be setting up. So get your, your phones, your notepads, your credit cards from where you're ordering gifts for your mom, right? Get that all picked up, and then we'll be clearing the tables. So you're going to make your way back into the room so you can go out, catch a quick break. We'll come back here a little after 11. And when you do, when you're out there or when you're talking, you can go ahead and grab the markers, the Sharpies, and we'll be doodling while we talk. So graffiti, I don't know. Our first discussion will start at 11:10. That's 1110, 14 in binary. So 11:10, back in the room. Thank you.